third. Yes, f of x equals
2x minus 4 over negative x plus 5.
very good. Good. So here we are asked to graph this function. And first of all, I have to identify the type of function. What type of function is this? Yes, it is rational. Very good. So it's a rational function, but we know that there are 3 different types of functions that we discussed. So what type? What subgroup? Thank you. What subgroup of rational functions is this? So if it's not 3, if it's not 2, then it must be 1. How do I know it's 1? Because the degree of the top is 1, and the degree of the bottom is 1. So as long as both degrees are the same, it's type 1. What is specific for type 1? Does it have a horizontal asymptote? Does it have the horizontal asymptote y equals 0? No. Awesome. Does it have a slant asymptote? No. Awesome. So what horizontal asymptote will it have? What will it be? So this is indeed type 1. And the horizontal asymptote will be? Say it again. We never look at the free term. The free term doesn't mean anything to us. So it's a free term. This is a free term. Negative 2. So it's the leading coefficient of the top over the leading coefficient of the bottom. So the top is 2, the bottom is negative 1. The ratio will be very good. So when I write negative 2 here and here, I will immediately write y equals negative 2 is a horizontal asymptote. That is specific to type 1. One more time. A rational function type 1 has the same degree at top and bottom, and the horizontal asymptote will be the ratio of leading coefficient over the leading coefficient. That's why keep both polynomials in descending order. If they're not given in descending order, make sure you rearrange it. Rearrange them so you can correctly identify the leading coefficient. Good. How do I continue? Someone forgot a mechanical pencil last time. Here on my desk. Okay. I kept it. I made all the attempts. I'll keep it till Thursday. And then I'll give it away. No, I will not. I'll keep it here. Okay, so what is the next step? What do you think? Of course. Please tell me what is the domain of this function. Honestly, what I would have done right away, I would have factored out the 2. What is in parentheses when I factor out 2? Very good. And since I can factor out negative 1, and I'll put the negative 1 in front, what is left in the denominator? Very good. This will help a lot, because by simply looking at this simplified form, I know when it's undefined, and I know when it's 0 right away. Where is 0, by the way? At 2. Very good. Because the numerator has to be 0. The numerator is 0 at 2. Where is this function undefined?
5.
Very good. So I write 5 and undefined. Does the factor of x minus 5 go away? If it goes away, I will write x equals 5 whole. If x minus 5 does not go away, then I will write x minus 5 what? Very good. Which one is it? Does x minus 5 go away with a factor of x minus 5 from the top? No. So then x equals 5 is very good. Once you say vertical asymptote, you are really telling me this, for sure. What you are not telling me yet is the sign. Well, once I write x equals 5 equals VA, I have to write infinities left and right. Because that's the meaning of a vertical asymptote. The function has to do this, 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 or this. Absolutely, when it's a VA. If it's not a VA, then you will have to put a number here, left and right. But if it's a VA, it's infinity. So let's study the sign with 4.9 and 5.1. This in the factor form is easier with 4.9. 4.9 minus 2, is it positive or negative? Very good. 4.9 minus 5, negative. So I have a negative in front and a negative and a positive. So what is the sign? Indeed. With 5.1, 5.1 minus 2. Say it again. We can find the mistake right away. Right before we are getting ready to graph it, we'll find the mistake if there is one. Okay, so 5.1 minus 5. Correct, but there is a minus in front. So this side is very good. Okay, now I need to plug in 0. What do I get when I plug in 0? That's it. Other than symmetry, there's nothing else. And it's not symmetric if it has, it cannot be symmetric with respect to the y-axis if it has a vertical asymptote here but not here. And it cannot be symmetric with respect to the origin if it has a vertical asymptote here, not here. So I can write that in a minute. So now let's try to make sense of this information that I have here. From -4, it increases to -4/5. From -2 to -4/5. So what did I forget? So it's going up. No, that's fine. So from -2, it crosses the x-axis at 0, -0.8. And then it crosses the y-axis at 2, 0. So it's 2. It's 5 indeed. From -2. Something is not right. Let's take a look again. So 2x minus 4, we factor out 2. Yes, x equals 2 is 0. At 0 is -4/5. And then on this side, 4.9. This is positive. This is negative, negative. It's positive. At 5.1. I'm just checking for a second. 5.1. 5.1, yes. So positive, positive, and negative. And then it drops to -2. Yes, it is 2 over -1. So from -2, it crosses the, it crosses the y-axis first. That's why. Okay. So from -2, it crosses the y-axis first at 0, -0.8. It crosses the x-axis at 2, 0, and it's going to infinity. Correct. So from -2, crosses the y-axis at 0, -0.8, crosses the x-axis at 2, 0, and going to infinity. On the other side, from -infinity to -2. From -infinity to -2 below the y, before the horizontal asymptote, under the horizontal asymptote. Very good. So when we graph a function, with asymptotes, what do we have to graph first? Yes, and this function has 2. One, which is the horizontal at y equals -2. And the other one that is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, x equals 5. Good. So I have to plot 0, negative 0.8. I have to plot 2 comma 0. And on this side, from negative 2, crossing the y-axis, crossing the x-axis, and going to positive infinity. I should have graphed it a little bit closer, and I'm going to erase that because it's getting closer and closer to the asymptote. And in my graph, it should be closer. Okay. And then on the other side, what do I have? From negative infinity to negative 2. From negative infinity to negative 2. This is the graph of f of x equals 2x minus 4 over negative x plus 5. And I would write that f of negative x does not equal f of x, which means it's not even and it's not odd, not symmetric. Now, about the range. It's very important to be able to identify the range of such a function. So what is the range of this function? Awesome. Negative infinity to negative 2 to infinity. Very good. Negative infinity to negative 2, union negative 2 to infinity. Perfect. Very good. Thank you. Again, you don't have to use this chart if you prefer a different way of summarizing it. But if you write everything on one page, it will kind of be without summarizing it, it will be difficult to put it all together. See, I got stuck here because for some reason in my mind this was the y-intercept, but this was the x-intercept, but this is the y-intercept and this is the x-intercept. So then I said, wait a minute, how can it do that? And then I went back and, oh, okay, no, it's clear. And of course, we can check with the graphing calculator. Don't forget to put in y equals negative 2. Is this okay? Yes? Okay, next question. Anything else before we start with the green green test? We cannot do anything from page 1. This will be part of test 3. So we have to move on directly to page 2. Now, any questions before we start working on this? Any questions other than, Heather, is this okay now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Other questions from anything that you worked on, anything classwork, anything? Other questions for me before we go through these problems? Yes? Everything, very good question. What I would do to prepare for this test, other than doing the problems we did in class, I will redo all these problems as many times as I need to be able, till I will say I'm able to do this on my own. And check the answer in the back. Yes?
Will the test be just like our last one, like how it was like questions off the math lab, or will it be like this?
It's a very good question. I did not write the test yet, honestly. But some of my students from the past other classes, they said, we want your heart into it. I said, okay. Yes. Okay. So I think I'm probably going to write. I'm sorry?
How many questions are there?
20. 20 questions. I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm learning from you and I'm hoping that you learn from me. I thought that making up the test in my math lab and printing it out, since you've seen everything and basically the problems are the same, I said to myself, this should be a breeze because you've seen them and I selected from the same group of problems. I'm not sure why some did very well and some did not do as well as I was expecting.
I like it better with the math lab.
So you prefer it. As you know, I can't please everyone. Okay, so you prefer the math lab?
It depends on what the people did in my math work. If they didn't do my math work and they only did the class work, then they haven't seen all the problems in my math lab. And so you'll throw some questions and they don't know.
Yeah, I've done all my math lab.
You did?
I haven't been on my math lab. I've been studying like stuff like our class. So
So I will have to do it half and half, so we can try and please everyone. So 10 problems in my math lab and 10 problems with. They're basically all the same. Okay, so let's not waste time. Number 2. So it's a good idea. So I'm going to make it half-half. So as I said, that was my idea. My idea was that everyone have seen this 5 times and no one won't have any difficulties. That was my concept. And they were the same problems with the ones we did in class. Okay, number 2. What type of inequality is this?
Rational.
Perfect. How do I solve a rational inequality? What will I have to do in order to solve this?
Solve for 0. Square root.
Let's think of the idea, the scheme, or we call it algorithm or method. What is the method that we used in solving rational inequalities? This was the last thing we did last week.
Oh, the table, the chart.
Excellent.
Okay.
Now I have to ask myself, great, Jesse. I have to ask myself, is this inequality chart ready? Because there are 2 conditions. If those conditions are not fulfilled, I cannot use the chart. It means that I need more steps before I get it ready for the chart. So the question now is, can I use the chart on this one? And what are the conditions? Remember, the chart has to compare signs. So if I don't have 0 on one side, I will not be able to compare 5 to 3. I can't. The chart cannot do that. So one condition is 0 on one side, mandatory. The second condition is the chart only helps or is used only if we have products or ratio of factors. If you ask me to compare 5x to 3, I don't know how to do that. I can only tell you if a quantity is positive or negative using the chart. So I can't do anything else. Yes, Natalie? So this is a ratio of factors. It's not a sum of terms. So factor. So it's a ratio of factors. What about this one? Is there a product of factors and 0 on one side? Yes. So both of them are chart ready. Either a product of factors or a ratio of factors. If I have a fraction plus 5, that is not a product or a ratio of factors. But both of them are set in such a way that the chart is working. So it can be applied. Good. So what do I have to do first? At the top of the chart, I have to put values of x. So anywhere between negative infinity and infinity. Then the next row will be reserved to. Awesome. The next row is reserved to. Awesome. And the last row must be reserved to. Exactly, the ratio. This is what we are interested in. We're interested in the sign of the whole thing. I don't care for negative x minus 3. I don't care for x minus 2, but I have no choice but study their sign or signs because I'm looking to determine the sign of the whole thing. Good. And so now I have to ask myself what would be the next step, the next question. What numbers I put in the chart? Because if I don't have any numbers, I can't do anything. So which numbers I'm looking for? Yes, I'm looking for -3 because -3 makes this expression 0. Negative x minus 3 equals 0, negative x equals 3, x equals -3. So this is the first number I need. And when x minus 2 is 0, I need x equals 2. So these are the only numbers I need in the chart. If you remember, these are the zeros of these, or the x-intercepts. I need the x-intercepts. Why would I need the x-intercepts? Can anyone tell us what type of function is this? Bless you. What type of function is this? What type of function is this? Linear. So why do I need the x-intercept? I need the x-intercept because I need to know where it's negative and when it's positive. And if I don't have the x-intercept, I will not know where it's negative and where it's positive. Right? Does it make sense? Good. So there is a 0 for negative x minus 3. Where? Of course. There is a 0 for x minus 2. Very good. So now let's see what happens with the whole thing. When x is -3, I need something here, and I need something here.
Oh,
2 would be
Yes? 2 will be?
the lines.
Right. You either say does not exist, or you say undefined. Very good. How come that a 2 is undefined? Exactly, 0 in the denominator, of course. So what happens at -3? Yes, because the numerator is 0. So a fraction is 0 when the numerator is 0, and the numerator is 0 when x equals -3. And the denominator, when the denominator is, when x is 2, the denominator is 0, so it's undefined. Now we're almost done, but we have to study the sign of this and the sign of this. So what would be the sequence of signs for the top one? Exactly. Why? Because the leading coefficient is negative. Because it looks like this. Or if you want the end behavior is positive infinity to negative infinity. So that's why I would write positive and negative. What is the end behavior for the other one? Exactly. Negative and positive. Perfect. Now we have 3 pieces. Piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. Sign on piece 1. Awesome. Sign on piece 2. Right. See, if they're not a product, I will not know the sign. Or a ratio. That's why I need them to be product or ratio. Because if you say, add 2 numbers, one negative and one positive, I will not know the sign. You have to give me more information about the numbers. Because the answer can be positive or negative. But if it's a product, it's a clear cut. It's a ratio. Positive of a negative is negative. Negative of a negative is positive. Negative of a positive is perfect. Only now I look at this. Which sign is less, which sign is less than 0? Negative. So now the question is, one more time, I'm asked to find x that makes this less than 0. Is this ever less than 0? As you know, I don't care for the top ones. I only care about this. Is this expression ever less than 0? Or negative? It's negative here for this x, and it's negative here for this x. So now the solution is x is a real number in the interval, and please dictate when you're ready. Oops. Negative infinity to -3. Very good. That's it. Indeed. I have to pick those x values that make the expression negative, and these x values that make the expression negative, because the inequality symbol is less than. What if I had greater than? What would you have picked as the answer for greater than 0? you would have picked -3 to 2, correct? If you had greater than, you would have picked -3 to 2. Is that okay, everyone? Yes? Okay. Do we need to do this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead. What type of inequality is this? Exactly. How many factors? Awesome. How many factors? 3. Very good. So I have to have 3 factors to study the sign of 3 factors, and the top must be the values of x, and the bottom must be the whole thing. Okay, awesome. Good. So is this chart ready?
Yeah.
Because remember, in the chart, I have to create the last row, and the last row has to be a product or a ratio. Otherwise, I can't find the sign. Are you with me, everyone? Okay, so x represents the variable in the problem, and then the next row is dedicated to, very good, that's the first factor. That's why I asked you. So when I ask you all these silly questions, in a way, they're not silly, but they are guiding you, and I'm expecting and I'm hoping that you will think in those terms. Always ask yourself these questions that I'm asking you, like a broken record all the time. What type of inequality is it? Is it chart ready? Do I have 0 on one side and a product or ratio on the other? What do I put in the chart? How many factors are there? How many rows should I have? And so on and so forth. Okay, so all these, I know they could be irritating, and I hope not, but they could be, because I go over and over the same thing many times. Okay, x is the first factor. Now be careful how you put in the second factor, because if it's not in descending order, I could make the mistake of not identifying the leading coefficient or the slope correctly. So if I put 4 minus x, I may say by mistake the leading coefficient is 4. But it's not. So always keep everything in descending order. So how would you write the second factor then? Very good. -x plus 4. Perfect. And now the last factor, x minus 6. I'm not interested in any of these 3 factors. My focus is on the whole thing. That's why the last row always must be the whole thing. Yes?
If this is a question on test, can we different product, are you gonna take points off for that?
No, of course not. I wrote product because I didn't have room. You
Yeah.
can write that or product or the whole thing or yes.
And if we just write, like, if we just write the answer and don't do this whole chart, do we get points on?
No. However, you must show a method, any method, and also if you're using the method in the book and you don't remember where parentheses are and open points are, then I will have to deduct points because the method in the book does not help you with that. So you have to be very careful. So no, you don't have, as I said from the very first day of classes, I said, if you don't like my method or you like my method but you prefer a different one, I'm fine. Any method, but you have to show it. Good. So which numbers go in the chart? So for this one, that's why I said 3 factors, 3 numbers. For this one, very good. For this one, 4. And for this one, 6. Right? Because they have to equal 0. 6 minus 6 is 0. -4 plus 4 will be 0 and 0. That's why the question was how many factors. Once we establish that there are 3 factors, we have to have 3 numbers at the top. So now from left to right, I need those numbers in ascending order.
0, 4, 6.
Very good. I need a 0 for x somewhere. Under. I need a 0 for the next factor somewhere. Perfect. And I need a 0 for the last factor somewhere. 6. Now I need something, if it's 0 or undefined, I need something for the whole thing. Under each of these numbers, under 0 I have, under 4 I have,
You call it the bottom of zero? The bottom, no, I'm talking about the bottom. You call that
The
zero?
bottom is the whole thing. I
Right.
don't call it zero.
Okay.
It's the whole thing.
Right.
No, I said what happens when x is 0, what happens when x is 4, and when x is 6. If I mispronounce something or said something, forgive me. Okay, 4 and 6. Why? Why do we know that these are zeros? Because first of all, this is a polynomial. It's never undefined. And if I have 3 factors, if any of those 3 factors is 0, the whole thing will be? Exactly. Good. So now I have to study the sign. Since these two follow the same sequence, is it this or is it this? Number 1 or number 2? The first and the third have a positive leading coefficient. They both have to have the same sequence of signs.
Negative, positive.
Exactly. Because of the leading coefficient, it's a odd degree, and the leading coefficient tells us the end behavior. And the number 2, the middle factor. What is the end behavior for the middle factor? Do you all agree with positive and then negative? It's dictated by the leading coefficient and it's odd degree. Is that okay? Yes? Damon?
The leading coefficient is a negative x.
No, x has nothing to do with the coefficient. The coefficient is the number in front of x for the degree.
Okay.
And that's -1.
Oh, no, okay.
It's the slope. Better? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
In the first piece, I have 2 negatives. And I need to multiply them. Because if you say add them, I'll say I have no idea about the sign. But if you tell me to multiply them or divide them, I know the sign. What is the sign?
Positive.
Very good. In the next?
Negative.
In the next? Very good. Awesome. Only now I look here and ask myself, which sign do I pick for the product?
Negative.
Yes. Is the product ever negative?
Twice.
Twice. Which means for which x values?
0 to 4.
Yes, union?
6 to infinity.
That's it. So indeed, 0 to 4, union, 6 to infinity, these are brackets. So x in the interval. Like everything, in order to master it, needs time. Everyone can do this or apply any other method, but we only need time to learn it.
Why do you pick the negatives for the final one?
Which sign is less than or equal to 0? There is only one sign that is less than or equal to 0. If I had greater than or equal to 0, I would have picked these two, because only positive is greater than or equal to 0. But since I want to find x so that the product is less than or equal to 0, it means that I choose x that makes the product negative. So the product is negative here and here for these values of x, between 0 and 4, union 6 and infinity. Better? Perfect. Okay. This page we cannot do yet. We will. Okay. Problem 6. We cannot do 7. So let's look at problem 6. The profit P in dollars generated by selling X units of a certain commodity is given by the function. What is the maximum profit? How many units must be sold to generate that maximum profit? When I'm given this problem, what do you think will go through my mind first? Exactly. Harry?
I would say it wasn't arranged.
Exactly. This was one of the important steps. Keep everything in descending order so you can correctly identify everything you need. Perfect. I would not even read the whole thing till once I see that it's not arranged in descending order. Yes. So can anyone dictate the correct? This is given intentionally like that.
P of x
Yes?
negative 0.004
Yes?
x squared.
Minus 1500. Very good. Because it can easily mess me up if I don't pay attention. And after 30 years almost of taking exams and taking courses and so on and so forth, I still have test anxiety. Right? So we have to make sure that we go slowly, step by step, and we are asking ourselves all these questions. Good. Now I can read on, right? What is the maximum profit? How many units must be sold? First, I rearrange it as it should have been. Number 2, what do you think will be my next question to myself? Correct. But my next question, before I say that, you're correct. You're way ahead of me. I would have asked myself, what type of function is this? Quadratic. And then I will say, what point on a quadratic function will give me a maximum? And your answer, you already answered that question. What is the answer? The vertex. Indeed. So number 1 question was, is it exactly how I wanted it to be? No. Number 2 question is, what type of function is it? Once I say quadratic, then I ask myself, okay, which point of the quadratic function will give us the maximum value? It cannot be anything but the vertex. Good. So now I'm asking myself, how do I find the coordinates of the vertex? Because I'm really interested in this. I want the maximum profit, but I can never determine the y value before I determine the x value, the x coordinate of the vertex. Good. So now my next question to myself is, okay, how do I find the x coordinate of the vertex? Negative b over 2a. See, that's why from the very beginning I presented this function in the correct order. Because now when I find when I find b and a, I could have messed it up. Right? If I hadn't arranged it from the beginning. Good. So now what?
-2. That's
Negative 0.008. Good. So now what? You can put in the graphing calculator and just give me the number. Can this number be negative? Can I produce a negative number of units and still get a maximum profit? No. So this has to be a positive number, and it is, because there is a minus and a minus. So the answer is, how much? Okay. Measurement unit. Without the measurement unit, I can't conclude or continue. Units. Very good, because X is the number of units produced, hopefully sold. Okay, very good. Now, I have the 1500. What do I have to do next? Plug it in. So please plug this in, find P of 1500, and tell me what it is. What will be the measurement unit of P of 1500? Depends on what P is. And P is? Exactly, because it's profit. Very good. Okay, so whatever you give me will be in dollars. And what would you say to the manufacturer, unit, or owner? What would you say to him? Ma'am, sir, if you want to have a maximum profit, and I'll tell you in a minute what the maximum profit is. Wait. You should manufacture and sell how many units? Right. What if he says to you, you know what, I can manufacture 1,600. Will I get a maximum profit? This is how a quadratic function with a maximum looks like. Comma, whatever you're going to give me in a minute. What if he says, you know what, I'm going to manufacture 1,600. What will you say to him?
Start losing money.
Exactly. You're not going to get the maximum profit. If you deviate 1 unit from 1,500, you're not going to get the maximum profit. There is only one point that has the maximum value of the function, not 2 or more. So if he says you want to manufacture 1,600, you're not going to get your maximum profit. You have to stay with 1,500, exactly how I tell you. Okay, good. So what is the profit? How many?
500.
Okay. So you will say to the owner, sir, if you manufacture your product in a number of 15 units and you manage to sell them, because if you put them on the shelf, you're not going to get any profit. So if you're manufacturing 1,500 units and you sell them, your profit will be 7,500. This has to wait till chapter 4. Let's move on. Yes, please.
Get to 7,500.
Okay, let's do it. I don't know. I trusted Kelsey. Okay, so the function was -0.004x squared, and then plus 12x, and minus 1,500, thank you. And you go to second and table. Do we have it? Do we put it in already? Yes, second and table. And I plug in 1,500. Press enter. Kelsey's right, 7,500. Is that okay, Damon?
You just plug in 1,500 where X is. That's how you.
Okay. Yeah,
Was that the question?
yeah, I just want to, okay, I'll figure it out, I get it.
We don't have to do it that way, right?
No.
No.
The reason why I put it like that is because there may be more than one question, and I don't want to have to repeat evaluating it for 3 different values.
Okay,
So if I want to show, let's say the manager, okay, let me show you if you manufacture 1,400, look, you're not getting the maximum profit. If you manufacture 1,550, you're not going to get the maximum profit. So if I want to show him for different values 3 times, I'm not going to sit in and plug in. I put a function in and I plug it in and I get all the answers right away. But it's not wrong to do what you just did. It's correct. Everything is fine. Very good. So let's continue with, Damon, is this okay now? Yes?
yep,
Okay, very good. So graph the following polynomial function. Now if you say, I don't need to review this because I know how to graph all polynomial functions, then we'll move on. If you say, no, I want to see this, then we'll spend time on it. Okay, very good. Perfect. So I recommend summarizing the information in some way or another, because it will be difficult to put it all together. Okay, so I have to start by finding what? F of x or P of x, sorry. I wrote P of x, so it's P of x, doesn't matter. So how do I start? Awesome, yes. What is the domain of any polynomial function? Linear, quadratic, cubic, 4th degree, 5th degree, any degree on the planet.
Negative infinity and infinity.
Indeed. So when we graph a polynomial function, when I look at a polynomial or I'm given a polynomial function to graph, what will be some of my thoughts? The degree is very important. It cannot have horizontal asymptotes. It cannot have any asymptotes whatsoever. It's defined everywhere. So there are no vertical, there are no horizontal, there are no slant. So I've seen it in tests. Students sometimes get confused when they think of graphing a polynomial, and then I see all of a sudden in the middle of the domain, a vertical asymptote. Once we know it's defined everywhere, there is no vertical asymptote, right? Vertical asymptotes are for which functions? Only for rational. Only for rational, right? Only type 1, type 2, and type 3 of rational functions have vertical asymptotes. Polynomials do not, right? Okay, very good. So let's continue. What will be my next step?